It's another Friday, and yet again, it's another segment of Free Fridays. Today is a special day because this is our first Q&A on our platforms where we're gonna get a lady by the name of Itumeleng from Pilled Media. She's got interesting questions that she wants us to go through so that you guys can know a little bit more about me, know a little bit more about the freight industry, and yeah, man, I'm up for the questions. Yeah, Itumeleng, if you're ready, I'm ready for you. Is she on?
There we go.
Okay, I think she's on now.
Sean, just good to send you request. That's okay.
Okay, that's all.
Sarah, how are you? Are you good?
I'm good, my sister. I'm good. I'm good. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Were you just telling them about the interview today?
Yes, yes. I was basically telling them that you're gonna come through with some questions for me, and
Yeah.
basically that I'm ready for you.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting, the freight industry, and I think it's mainly still dominated by white males in South Africa, isn't it?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, so I
Still,
thought, yeah,
yes.
yeah, so I thought it would be quite interesting just to get an idea of like basically where you started from. So if we can chat a bit about your upbringing, your background, so that when people see Serame, they sort of understand where Serame is coming from and how Serame got to where he is today. So if you can tell us a
Yes,
little bit, like where did you grow up? Do you have siblings? How was childhood?
yes, yes, yes. Uh, Basically, me, I'm a young male, born in 1989, on the 9th of July at Baragwana, Soweto, and I grew up in Middleland Zone 9.
Okay.
Basically, when I was young, and I moved around a bit because my primary, I did it in a model school
Yeah.
in a primary called Big Van Vieren. That's where I did my grade one till grade
Yeah.
four. Because what happened was when I was in grade four, my mom passed away, and then we had to go back to Soweto and live with my granny, with my siblings and my aunties. And then I was fortunate enough, they took me to a primary school near the area called Takasa Primary School. And then I did
Yeah.
my my early, early schooling in Takasa Primary School. And then I went to my high school. I went to
Yeah.
Mohome Secondary High School where I completed my matric. And then after
Yeah.
that, yeah, I faced life. But basically, in a nutshell, I'm a guy who grew up from the dusty streets of Soweto. I
Okay.
was raised by a with aunties, 10 of us in one house, sharing my Gogo's pension. But yeah,
Yeah.
by God's grace, I'm still here and I'm pushing
Yeah.
through every step that comes my way.
Yeah, that's inspirational. That's very inspirational. So a lot of people, you hear stories and they started their business like when they're in primary, they were selling sweets or they were, you know, finding a way to hustle. So where
Mm,
did your entrepreneurship idea, when did it start?
yes. You know what, Itumelo? I don't want to lie to you and come up with those stories where I sell sweets and I did stop trials when I was in primary school. I was very naughty. I was one of the smallest people in the schools, but I was a bully. I was involved in fights. I was a trouble child. Basically, and that also that naughtiness went into my early adulthood, my 21 year, 22 years, 23
Yeah.
years when I was working to one of the retail companies. And it actually got me fired because I was one of those people who were difficult to work with because I was thinking that I'm a guy from Soweto, you know,
Yeah,
I can stand up for myself, and I got myself in when I was in corporate in situations where I couldn't, because there's no fighting there, there's talking and there's
yeah,
negotiations and when you used to a certain way of solving things, and then you
yeah,
end up in a situation where you cannot do the things that you were used to. Yeah. So basically, my entrepreneurship spark came when I was very old. I think I was 23, 24. When
yeah,
I saw that now I don't have a job, and I actually had a son. I got my son
yeah,
when I was 21. And the mother, unfortunately, I was not with her when after we had the child. So she kept
yeah.
calling me, wanting nappies, wanting all these things. So
Yes,
I was
yes.
this person who was now in a situation. Now I realized that people cannot work with me. What is it about me? Then I started
Yeah,
now my entrepreneurship journey where I started meeting people who were doing all kinds of business. The first business
yeah,
actually was a business I did with a guy called Tumelo. We were into graphic design and
yeah.
websites and all of that. And I was like, at the time I was 25. So I actually started very late in my entrepreneurship journey.
Oh, it's never late. I mean, didn't the guy work KFC start at like 50 something
Yeah,
or 60?
that's yeah, yeah.
So
Actually,
it's
it
never,
actually started late.
yeah, yeah. So it's never late. And I was actually gonna ask, like, did you start in another industry and then move on? So you said graphic design. What made you
Yes.
move from that?
The thing about life is that once you start being in a certain circle of people, right, you get to a point where now you start moving. When you in a position where you're just trying everything. When you hear somebody says, "I'm doing graphic design," you join them. When you hear somebody says, "I'm
Yeah,
building," "I'm doing construction," you join. When you
yeah,
hear people say, "No, tenders are making money," you join.
yeah,
When you
yeah,
hear people say, "We are investing there," you join. So it was just a sheer luck because there was a family member of mine who was actually in this industry, and then
okay.
she kind of invited me to come and assist them with picking up the boxes at the warehouses, and
Yeah,
basically being an errand boy. you know
yeah.
and because of my attitude, I got fired again in that business. you know and then that's when I sat down, I'm like, okay, I really have a serious problem.
Yeah,
So that actually grew me to a point now. I was like, okay, I'm in this industry and I cannot keep on going in circles. So I'm in
yeah,
this industry that this family member of mine introduced me into. And
yeah,
fortunately, my brain is very quick in capturing things. So I realized
yeah,
that this is something that I can do. But
yeah,
unfortunately, I didn't have capital to do it. So I started numerous partnership with other people before I end up doing my own
okay.
because I was raising capital.
Yeah,
And obviously in a partnership, I don't know what's wrong with African people or our people. Or it's not even. I think it's not a culture problem. I think this is because even in movies you can see people are always fighting in corporations. I think when people
yeah,
have different views about things, it comes to a place where you guys lock heads, and then
yeah,
every business when you lock heads, that's when you have to like separate. You know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
fortunately, by the time I start to separate now, I had a bit of money that I saved up for myself. And I realized,
yeah,
you know what? Let me do my own thing now. Let me go
yeah,
solo.
yeah. And did networking play a big part when you were starting out?
Yes, 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 yes. As stubborn as I was and as naughty as I was, I've always had a passion for understanding people. I can get into any place and start talking to anyone. So I clicked with
Yeah,
a lot of people that were not only looking at my rough character, but they were looking at how gentle I am in certain situations. So
yeah,
I created a lot of friendships around the industry to a point where when I started the business, I could easily link and do work with other people easily for me
yeah,
because there are some people who always look through the personality but look at the character and what it
Yeah.
can entail in terms of the future. Yeah. So I was watching.
Awesome. Yeah. So how has things changed? Freight, I think it's one of those things that it's the same as marketing as well. They change a lot over time. So how has things changed from when you started going out on your own, the processes, things like that, to where you are today? How has the freight industry changed?
The freight industry, the thing about it, especially the part in which I am, or the sector in which I am, which is customs clearing and forwarding. This is an international
Yeah,
space. So
yeah,
whether there's politics, there's weather, there's anything that affects anything around the world, whether they are treaties or whether they are agreements that governments make, they always impact directly into the freight forwarding and customs clearing industry in our
yeah,
industry directly. So the laws always change. And we also
yeah,
work a lot with government offices. Like, for instance, we do a lot of customs work. Customs is a division from that SARS handles, which they
yeah,
handle import and exportation monies. So this is something that you always have to be on your ball because the law
yeah,
always changes.
yeah,
So a lot of laws have changed. Like when I started, there were a lot of things that we're using that were done manually. Now, because
yeah,
technology, fourth industrial revolution is coming into play, a lot of things are becoming digitalized. A lot of systems are becoming online. Because now we're
yeah.
also facing COVID and all these other things. So since the time I started until now, I can say that 80% of the things that I used to do, I had to change and adapt to the new things that have been done.
So without telling us the industry secrets, what is
Yes.
the one major thing that changed?
Pardon?
Without telling us like the secrets of
Yes.
the industry, what is the one
Yes.
major thing that changed?
There is no secret. Like I'm saying, I can give you one example. There's
Yeah,
there's containers that when they come in the country, there's certain dues that you have to pay to Transnet. When
yeah,
I started the business, you used to go to Transnet and you had to stamp it physically. Now
yes,
they've started an OTP industry where you have to register and put money
yeah,
into that system, and then they will automatically deduct when you have those containers. So
okay,
that's one example. There is a
yeah,
lot. We work with a lot of departments. We work with
yeah,
ITech, we work with Port Health, we work with agriculture, we work with Home Affairs. So we work with a
yeah,
lot of government departments. So the
yeah,
laws of the country affect us. And also the laws of other countries affect us
yeah.
because this is also an international industry.
So yeah. So how difficult is it to start a freight company? And what advice would you have for somebody? So I think in your case, it helped you that you were in the industry first before you actually started your own business. So what advice would you have for, somebody that's thinking, I think I want to go into that industry? What would you
You
advise
know
them?
what?
And yeah,
Honestly, if there's any industry that I know that it will never die, is this industry. This
yeah,
industry is the heart of the world because goods
yeah,
are always moving.
yeah,
Manufacturing hubs, manufacturing factories, they are always manufacturing things. So somebody somewhere always needs something. And because of the international trade agreements, there's always things coming from other countries to our country or things leaving our country to other countries. So my
yeah,
advice to anyone who would want to be in this industry is to research, research, research. Now, because of the blessings of life, there's the internet, there's guys like us who are out there willing to impart information, debunking
yeah,
the industry that it can no
yeah,
longer be a niche, but an industry in which everybody can play in it. Because you would not be competing with me, you will be competing with international giants that
yeah,
have been in the industry for numerous years. So
yeah,
everybody's welcome to join as long as they're willing to work hard, to do their research, and to go
yeah,
again.
yeah. And do you think that you need education for something like this, or it's more hands-on, like you learn? Because I found that um, with most businesses, like for example, in the marketing industry I'm speaking of, I'm part of, I have not really been asked to show my qualification when I go to clients and I say, this is what I can do. They just want to see that I'm able to do the job, you know? And I feel like it's something that you have to learn while you are a part of it. Is that how it is in the freight industry, or how do you feel about it?
To be honest, what I've realized is every key player in all the big industries, none of
Yeah,
them can really come and say they are actually qualified for what they're doing unless it's a profession. So this
yeah,
comes down to passion. This comes down to hard work. This comes
yeah,
down to determination. How much do you want it? How far are
yeah,
you willing to go for it? So, in terms of formal education, if that's what you're asking, you don't need
yeah,
that. But in terms of being self-taught, doing your
yeah,
research, it's very vital. You cannot survive in any business
yeah,
without understanding the business side of the business. Because every business
yeah,
has the operational side, which is your day-to-day. But there's a business side of it where you have to do your accounting, your legal things, many things that you have to do in order for you to succeed. So you cannot come there with a empty
yeah,
cup. You have to fill it in with experience, fill it in
yeah,
with knowledge.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I agree with you, because I find that like what you learn on paper is not always what happens in real
What you
life
do
and in a
physically.
company, you know.
How many of the things that you have learned in school are you applying in real
We can't even remember them.
life? Exactly. Exactly. So life is about pushing. It's about,
Yeah,
believing in something so much that you go out there no matter the circumstances and you do
yeah,
it no matter what.
yeah. So where do you see Noaves International Freight in say about 5 years?
Yes. You see the international part, I put it deliberately because
Yeah,
Novice in the next 5 years will be an international giant. You will find it in all continents. You're going to find it in all continents, in all the
yeah,
languages that you can find, servicing people. We will be flying the South African flag high. And they will say, this
yeah,
is Novice International Freight from South Africa, operating in Poland, in America, in Australia, like all the giants are doing. All the giants are operating in foreign countries. And you would know
yeah,
that this company is actually originally from this country. And there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing
yeah,
wrong with it because each and every company is there to solve a problem. And if you're good
yeah,
at solving those problems, then why not? Why not
yeah,
play in the continent? Why not play in the globe? I say Novus International Freight will live up to
yeah.
its international name and operate internationally.
So I actually asked your team, but I don't think they will explain it as well as you do. Like, where does the
Yes.
name Novice come from?
Yes. You see, novice was a depiction of the English name novice as a beginner. I
Your
see our
yeah,
company as varsity. The spelling might not be the same, but the meaning is that we are always
yes,
in varsity. We are always learning. We are always beginning. Because what I've realized in life is that practice does not make perfect, but it makes better. So novice
yeah,
will always practice until you know the world
yeah.
comes to a position where we cannot. Yeah. So we are novice forever.
Um, and just on the That's great. So, just on the last question, so what has business taught you about life and about people? Because running a business, I think, is the most challenging thing that anybody can go through. Not just personally, but also, running a team, learning all these leadership skills and everything. So what has business taught you about life and about people?
In terms of life, I've learned that, take one step at a time.
Yeah,
If like for instance, I'm on my weight loss journey and I have a issue with weight since I was young. Even my family, many people have that issue. I always reiterate that. But I know
yeah,
that that 30 minutes and that 1 hour in the gym won't make me
yeah,
slim that day. But like it doesn't take me a day to gain weight. It took time for me to get
yeah,
big. So it will take time for me to lose weight. So business has taught me that every day you must show up. Every step counts. Every little
yeah,
thing counts. Discipline, consistently. Stay on the ball. Time and time again. You have to
yeah,
do it over and over. It's about building and maintaining and growing and scaling and consistently being on your discipline, being on your ball. And in terms of
yeah,
people, business has taught me that everyone out there is looking for something great. Everybody
yeah,
out there gets excited when they find something that makes them alive. So
yeah,
no one is actually useless in this life.
yeah,
Everyone is useful to what makes them tick. So I
yeah,
say, find your trigger. When you find your trigger, you will become unstoppable.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. We're looking forward
Yes.
to when we are in Japan, seeing a Nova's office there. When we are in America, we see a Nova's office there. So we foresee
Yes.
great things from you and the team and the company because, like you said, you represent so many people. You represent South Africa. Everyone is looking to you, and like sometimes you don't know that you are even an example and an inspiration to other people. And we need more of people that look like us in certain positions so that the next generations can say, hey, this is possible, I can do it as well. So I'm really proud to know you and to hear your story. And yeah, I think your team should listen to this interview because I think it's going to make them see you in a awesome light. And yeah, and I'll also be sharing it on my page so people can also get to see Novice International and yeah, just work on getting the name out there and the business out there. So it was
Exactly.
wonderful, and I hope we do it again.
Okay, definitely. You're welcome.
Yes, so we can chat again. But thank you for having us, and thank you for having me, Serame. You must have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend.
You too, Itimele. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Bye.
Bye.